getting ready for the Super Bowl this weekend. My friends and I decided we would have a game. So today I'm going to prepare jerky from goose breast. These are some of the ingredients that you're going to need. Fresh rosemary, garlic, soy sauce, cider vinegar, hot sauce, brown sugar, kosher salt, water, wild goose breast. The two most important ingredients in your brine are the water and the salt. We have to maintain a ratio, and in this case, it's 16 parts water to 1 part salt. Everything else is just seasoning. First, let's make the brine. We'll start with our salt. And again, remember the ratio is 16 to 1. So if you're using a gallon of water, you're going to use 1 cup of salt. You want to mix it so you're sure the salt is dissolved. And we can continue to do this a couple of times as we add the rest of our ingredients. Alright, let's get a little rosemary in there. And we're just going to break it off the stem and crush it up in our fingers. Get some of the flavor out of there. It won't really matter what's in there because it's not going to be in our final product anyway. It's just going to help flavor it a little bit. Okay, and our vinegar, our hot sauce, the soy sauce, garlic, and the brown sugar. Now the purpose of the brine is one, it helps preserve the food. The salt is a natural preservative. Number 2, the salt acts on the outer strands of the protein and breaks them up a little bit. 1, helping the product retain moisture, and 2, allowing it to absorb more of the flavor. But for our purpose, this brine is primarily to act as a preservative before we're done smoking our product. Okay, here's the goose breast that we need to slice up. We want to slice it very thin so it will eventually dry out in our smoker and absorb some of this brine as we go. First thing I want to do is trim off any of the excess fat, any silver skin or anything else that might cause a problem later. Now, if I'm taking off some good pieces of meat, you can save them and grind them up for your goose burgers later. One of my purposes in trimming this, even with a little extra meat, is to get straight sides. It's important for me to have nice even pieces when I cut so that they stay better on the racks in the smoker. So again, we're trimming off a little extra fat, and if I take a little extra meat with it, it's not a problem. That meat can be grinded up in your burgers a little later on. But some of this silver skin that you can see here might get tough when it cooks, so we're just going to get in there and remove it. And again, try to keep it a little bit squared up. Look at the other side. That doesn't look too bad. And something else you really want to look for are signs of pellets that may end up in here. It's just no fun to bite down on a piece of meat and end up with a steel pellet in your teeth. So we look for any signs of damage. These both look pretty darn nice. I don't see anything in there. All right, then all we need to do now is slice them up. And we want to slice them fairly thin, maybe about 1/8 of an inch. This is a slicing knife, and if we can do it all with just 1 stroke, it doesn't hack up the meat. And you can see we're getting really nice thin pieces, which is just what we want to put in our brine. Okay, here's our sliced meat. This is some meat I sliced a little earlier. This was 6 breasts all together. Gave us quite a good pile of meat. Here is the brine that we set up earlier. Just going to give it one more Stir, make sure that salt is mixed up. It will settle to the bottom, but if you mix it, it will end up getting into the whole product. And all we gotta do is put our meat in. Make sure it's all covered. And we're just gonna break it up a little bit so it's not sitting on top of each other. Make sure that brine gets all around our meat. One other thing we see that the brine will do in the end is it sucks out a lot of the blood from the goose. You'll see instead of it being kind of clear as it looks now, the brine will end up pretty darn dark red from pulling some of the blood out of the breasts. All right, so we just leave the slices in here now for about 2 hours. Then we're going to take them out, rinse it once, and lay them on drying racks. Leave them in the fridge for about 24 to 48 hours, and then we're going to smoke them. That's it. Okay, our breast has been brined for about 2 hours in a fridge, and if the weather's like it is now, just put it outside. And we're going to have to rinse it off just a little bit, and then we're going to rack it. So there's the breast, and you can see that our brine water has gotten a lot of that blood pulled out of our product, and we're just going to put it right into a colander. Get rid of the brine. And one quick rinse with cold water. I want to completely get the brine off. You can see how much bloody water's dripping out of there. Okay, that's it. And from here, we just lay the pieces out on the racks. This is a finer grid on this rack. I use this rack as well. It works fine for the big pieces. That other rack is good for the smaller pieces as long as they sit up. So I'm going to get all of this meat out of here and onto my racks. I've got about 5 or 6 racks that I'll fill, and then they just go into the fridge. A little trick is if you you don't have enough room, if you've got like one shelf space, I just put little balls of tin foil on the edges, and then I can actually put one rack on top of the other, and the little tin foil ball holds it up, and I can get 3 or 4 racks on one pan. But that's all there is to it now, is putting out the meat. Give just a teeny space in between. The trick is to let them dry all the way around. And what happens when they dry is it forms a little bit of a skin on the outside called a pell, P-E-L-L. And that's where this salt, the brine, begins to work on the protein that is the meat. So 24 hours or 36 hours, and we'll be ready to put them in the smoker. It's been 24 hours that the meat has been air drying in our fridge. About halfway through the night, I turned the pieces over just to make sure I was getting a good air dry on both sides. If you can see, the meat has gotten very shiny. This is the pell forming that we talked about, the salts doing their job on the proteins. Again, I said we got 4 racks, and this is what I was talking about yesterday. If you put a few tinfoil balls on top, you can lay one rack on top of another. So let me show you now what we need to get the smoker ready. Meat, beer, water, applewood, igniter. First thing we want to do, light our smoker. There's a burner in the bottom. It's a propane fired smoker. And we'll add our beer and water to the holding tank here. I believe the water helps add steam to the smoking process. I think it makes the smoke heavy and helps it stay inside. And our apple wood. Okay, this goes right over the burner. There used to be a smaller container for the wood, but I got a bigger one. I think it does a better job and it heats better. If the smoke doesn't happen quick enough, I give it a little help sometimes. All right, this will take about 15 minutes and we'll come back and check it. It should be full of smoke and warmed up enough to start drying out our meat. It's getting dark and you can see that our smoker is producing smoke. Let's open it up and take a look inside and see what progress we've made. Okay, things are starting to look good here. Let's just take a look at one of the racks. And they're starting to cook around the edges a little bit. We're getting some darkening and drying out, but not enough. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll take the bottom rack and put it on top, just because the heat source is closer to the bottom. And we'll give these two a quick switch just to change them up. Oh, they're looking good. This is looking really good. I think another 10 or 15 minutes and we'll be ready to start taking some of the pieces out. You can really get to see some of it drying out and getting dehydrated now along the edges. You know what? I may even just steal a piece to taste and bring inside. Now, we've given it another 10, 12 minutes and we're going to check it again. I'm pretty sure by now some of them are ready to come off the racks. So let's take a look. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You can see that they're starting to darken up. They're starting to look dry. They're not all quite ready. But what we're going to do is bring some of the racks in, take off some of the meat that's ready, and we'll bring the rest back out to finish. But for now, I'm going to go get a pan and bring it inside, and I'll show you what I'm going to what comes off and what stays on back inside the house. We brought the racks inside so I can get a better look at them in the light and determine which pieces are ready to come off the racks and which pieces need to stay on and go back in the smoker for another 10 or 15 minutes to finish dehydrating properly. I use my spatula, anything you want to break the pieces loose because they'll get a little sticky on the racks, and I take a good look at them, and of course you got to sample a little bit here and there, and I'm going to show you how to tell which ones are ready now and which ones need to go back on the rack. This piece is not ready yet. You can tell by the thickness it hasn't shrunken that much, and by the color it's still a little bit gray looking, and you'll see also that they're still fairly flexible. You can see that this one has shrunken considerably. It was the same size as the other one. It is much thinner and the color is much darker. Also, if you pick it up, you'll see that it holds its shape. It doesn't flop at all. So the one that's not ready has to go back out to the smoker for a little while, and the ones that are ready just get cooled off and bagged up. I'm going back out to the smoker to finish what we've started. Good luck with your next batch of jerky, and thanks for watching.